Hey everyone, Digital David here. Today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the Thermaltake CTE E600 MX case. This is a nice mid-tower case in the Hydrangea blue. They do have multiple color options available. Thermaltake did send me the sample, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this product or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Here's a look at the retail box and packaging. We have all the tech specs right here on the side, supporting motherboards anywhere from mini ITX to micro ATX to ATX and E-ATX. Here's a look at the back side of the box, the other side, and now we're back to the front. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and see what's inside. Here are all the contents. First up, we have our product literature with warranty information as well as our user guide and manual. It's very detailed, walking us through the table of contents, all the included parts and components, as well as the specs on this tower. So take a look at those pages. And then they walk you through different configurations, maximum measurements and lengths depending on what you're trying to install, how to remove panels, step by step, very detailed and thorough with everything you need to know included there. Next, we have multiple brackets for our PCIe riser, so we have different installation options. We also have our PCIe 4.0 riser cable. And then we have our hardware kit right here with all of our screws, standoffs, cable ties, everything we need there. And then lastly, we have the case itself. Let's look at this in more detail. This case is massive. Up at the top, it almost all fits in frame here. You're just missing a little bit of the panel on the sides. It's just the same solid Hydrangea blue metal finish there. But you'll notice up at the top, we have plenty of venting here. We have a massive power button, indicator light, couple USB ports and USB Type-C port. Headphone jack, mic jack, and we have a reset switch there. Popping the panel off reveals the inside of the top right here. And look at this cool configuration. With our motherboard repositioned, our I/O is going to be right here, and our GPU is going to be right there up at the top. And on the bottom side of the top plate right here, we do have a removable mesh filter and screen to easily clean as needed. But take a look at that top, plenty of cable management routing options here, and we can really configure this install in a variety of ways, but really cool. And then out the back, we'll see it from the side. That's where all your cables are going to run out right here. Now here's a look at the front panel. Same thing. It almost all fits in frame here. A little bit up on the right-hand side. It's going to be off screen. There it is. And we'll go back this way, and you'll see the very bottom with the feet right here, and the Thermaltake 25 logo for their anniversary. This has that nice same look and aesthetic as the very top panel with our mesh inside. This also just pops right out. There you go. You'll see here, again, this is going to be removable, so we can just gently pop that out to clean and wash as needed. Then we can just gently press it back into the panel right here. Not the prettiest way to do it. There we go. And it'll snap right back in, revealing the inside here. Plenty of room to install cooling as we see fit. Take a look at that. Lots of space in here. Now we're looking at the very bottom. We got our 4 feet here. I'll shift it over to the side so you can see both of them and get a feel for the space underneath. This also will just slide right out to remove our wire filter there, revealing more cooling option and mount choices at the very bottom. And then it just will slide and snap right back in place. Here's a look at the back side. Another removable panel and filter right there. Just a portion of the back side. We have the CTE form factor designed by Thermaltake up here. And again, that's where a lot of our cables are going to route out of. Up at the top, we also have this grommet down here towards the center. Power supply at the bottom, and then here's our feet from the back. Now it's time to look at the very back of the case. Here's the top of the case here, and we'll just gently press it up. Plenty of ventilation on the back side. Both sides of the panels cut out right here, with the center going to be your solid metal piece. We can also pop open the back panel to reveal, again, 2 removable screens right there. And then here's a look at the back side. So starting at the bottom, get a feel for how everything looks. Mounting along the left side, additional room down here, SSD brackets. If you want to add some 3.5-inch drives, we got that option there with our hard drive bracket included. And then here's a look at the top and how everything's routed to all of our front panel controls that are up at the top. And now the very front with our tempered glass side panel, we still have our protective film on. So if it looks a little bit dull, that's going to be why that is the case. Look at the top. I love that our bezel up here is matching in that hydrangea blue finish. Really neat. We'll move further down. Same thing right there. Great to see. Here's that removable filter down at the bottom that we looked at earlier. We can pop this open from the side as well. And again, the bezels, hydrangea blue. It's just that small attention to detail that's fantastic. And we'll look at the inside of the case here. So motherboard I/O is going to go up top. GPU right here, vertically mounted. All of our standoff brackets already installed. Look at the spacing down further at the bottom. Get a feel for how everything looks right here with this case. Plenty of room in here with that unique layout to really make this build your own. Prop it up so you can see the very top there. Try to do the same thing for the very bottom right here. Just get a feel for all the space you have to work with. Now let's go ahead and get our PC built. All right, our PC is assembled. Everything was simple and straightforward. I do want to point out though, if you're trying to replicate this build, we use the MSI Godlike, the Z590 board. Technically, it's like a ½ an inch too big. It is not within the range of E-ATX board sizes that this case supports. So just keep that in mind. For this build, we don't have any operable USB 3.0 ports because we could not plug it in behind the GPU. Basically, you can't see it, but anyways, how the bracket is, it's just too long. We can't get the cable the right access there. So anyways, I just wanted to point that out, but now let's take a closer look. All right, so here it is in all of its glory. We got a Cooler Master AIO or MSI Z590 Godlike motherboard. Again, that's too large for this build. What I was mentioning earlier is basically down here, that's our USB 3.0, but if you notice, there's not enough room to get those cables plugged in there. So again, this board is too big, but I went ahead and tried it anyways. Got some Lexar DDR4. We have 11600K Intel CPU, Cooler Master AIO, Gigabyte RTX 4070 Super. This is a beautiful card with triple fan design, which is why I wanted to use the included riser. There's a couple of ways you can mount the GPU. This one's really sleek though, and works perfectly with the cable they provided. We could mount it up here if we wanted. More of the traditional mount for this particular case, which is still unique and cool. But look at that. I'm digging that. Pretty simple and straightforward to set up. Let's look down below. That's how I routed the HDMI cable here. And then our GPU power cable. That's how we were able to make it work. I wish they had some more cutouts here though, so maybe we could hide those a little bit better. Up and maybe behind there would be nice to utilize that space a little bit more to fish our cables through if possible. But yeah, plenty of room in this case. Really neat. We didn't add any fans. I'm just going to try it out. We're going to have some fun here. But we have the two fans on our AIO, and there's so much mesh basically everywhere. This case is going to be super breathable. Here's a look at the backside where we have routed our USB keyboard and mouse. Further down is the HDMI cable and then our power supply right there. And now you're looking at the back. Get a feel for the cable management here and what you're able to accomplish. Plenty of room for storage. There's our radiator that we have mounted here. We just basically tidied everything up along this channel and right in there. Thermaltake 850 watt power supply. It's their smart BM3 power supply if you're interested. And we got the grommet coming through right there to pass through our cabling, and then the HDMI and GPU power tucked in there down below, but plenty of space back here. All right, now it's time to talk about performance. So currently we have the PC booted up, it's at idle. We have the RTX 4070 Super for our GPU and the Intel 11600K for our CPU. These are going to just be our idle baseline measurements, get a feel for the performance. But we're showing right around 25 degrees Celsius for our CPU average at idle and around 30 degrees Celsius for our GPU average at idle. Now let's go ahead, let's really stress this out and see how warm this case gets. We're nearing the 10-minute mark and temps have held steady. Our CPU's peaked at around 90 degrees Celsius and our GPU's coming in right around that 61 degrees Celsius point. Everything is well within range. The AIO is going to be more at fault for the CPU warmer temps than anything that the case has to do with it. But in regards to the GPU, it's good to see that we're getting plenty of airflow and it's keeping it nice and cool at that 99% utilization. We got a lot of warm air blowing out the back as you would expect. I'd say it's been a success not having any extra fans besides our AIO in keeping everything cool. That's just a testament to this case and how much airflow there is in ventilation without having any extra fans. Now it's time for my favorite test where we're gonna use a smoke machine to showcase how the air is gonna move through this case. This will be really unique since we don't have any fans bringing in any cool air for us. It's all going to be very, very passive. So first, let's start over here and zap some in. As expected, most is going to be rising up and out of the top as well as through the back right here. A lot of smoke coming out the back. And we're the closest to the fans right here anyways. So that's obviously going to pull that cool air in from there. We can actually do a little bit of smoke outside the case. And you'll be able to see that we still have enough pull from those fans that it is getting that fresh, cool air right there going straight through the radiator. Now for fun, we're going to do the other side. Get a feel for how that air is going to move with the GPU. And then still exhausting out the top and out the back side with our active fans. But it's so cool. You can really see it coming around. It's moving a lot of air, even with those two fans, into the case. One more time for science. It's awesome. It's way too fun. Someone take it away. So now let me share with you my final thoughts after building in this case. So I'm not going to dock them points for not fitting my motherboard. I picked a motherboard that was larger than what they spec'd out. Now I guess in the perfect world they could make it so it can support even larger E-ATX boards. That would be nice. But again, I'm not really going to fault them there. Anyways, build quality is great. Really, really top-notch job. I love this Hydrangea blue color. I'm grateful they give us multiple GPU bracketing options and they include the riser cable and its PCIe 4.0. That is fantastic. Also, I like simple little things like having the front panel connector be one unified cable. That just makes things a lot easier. So they did a nice job there. Now up at the top, if you remove the top panel, they have a pretty centralized channel to easily connect and route all your cables. But I want to point out with this style, I wouldn't say this case is meant for somebody that frequently has to swap out display cables, things like that. Or if you're trying to always have access to the USB ports on the back of your motherboard or any of the other I/O. This is going to be one of those you invest a lot of time up front setting and connecting everything up, but hopefully you don't have to go in there and tweak it. Hopefully at the top with your I/O on the front panel that would be enough for you. 2 USB type A and 1 USB type C. So if you can connect your phone or SD card readers, things like that up there and leave everything else, your keyboard, your mouse, and you don't have any desire or need to constantly be changing those out, then this case would be just fine for you. I like the design. It's definitely a lot cleaner, and I think it's unique to have everything repositioned. It just allows for some creativity in your build, like how we have the GPU, or if you wanted to have it mounted straight up and down too. They just got some really cool things going on with this form factor that I really like. Another thing worth mentioning is that this case doesn't come with any fans. May or may not be a big deal for you, but just something to factor into your build.